Hello and welcome along to this week's EFL. We're going to be unpacking all the weekend's action. Me, Jimmy Cantrill and Joe Townsend are going to talk you through just that. Joe, where else are we going to start but with the sacking in the Championship? Will Still's been dismissed at Southampton. What do you make of it?
Oh, it was one of those, wasn't it? Felt pretty inevitable, to be honest. I think when he got appointed in the summer, then there's just so much intrigue over is he going to be a good manager? Has there been all this hype because he's so young for so many years? Um, it's all a bit disappointing, really, isn't it? They kind
Mm.
of wanted him to be around for quite a while, and to deliver on all this promise of him. He feels like he's been around for almost a decade already, and he's only 33. So all pretty disappointing, to be honest. It's a sad situation at Southampton. Um, I wrote this up for Sporting Life this morning that if you look back at the managerial appointments that Sport Republic have made, it's been the absolute disaster, really. They sacked Ralph Hasenhüttl, and since then, other than Russell Martin, who bizarrely is considered to be a failure, then every other managerial appointment has been a catastrophe. So Russell Martin is the only appointment they've made that's won more than two league matches. Every other manager is between 0 and 2 league wins, which for a fan base to be going through that is astonishingly bad, especially when you throw in that Russell Martin won 26 of his 27 league matches in the Championship, and presided over almost the first half of last season's historically bad Premier League campaign. So I do feel for Will still, but I mainly feel for the Southampton fans. It's pretty bleak down there.
Yeah, so it was a 2-0 loss at home to Preston on the weekend that proved to be the final nail in the coffin, but three defeats on the spin for Blackburn, winless in five league games. They hadn't won since that 2-1 victory at Bramall Lane, another crisis club. But I was just wondering where exactly the blame lies, because you've referenced the terrible appointments from the ownership group, and you look at it for Will Still. I don't know if I feel a bit sorry for him because I talked about it last week. The underlying data metrics for Southampton are off the charts. They're not off the charts. They're towards the top of the charts. But for like expected goals against, expected points, Southampton should be a lot closer to the top of the division at the minute. Whereas Will Still leaves them, they've played 13. They're averaging less than a point per game. They're above the relegation zone by 3 points, but going on usual season averages, recent history, their points per game average would be having them potentially going down if it continues like this. But you just look at performances and the cop out underlying numbers, and I can't help but feel like Will Still's been let down a little bit by his players. Um, I think back to the defeat at Blackburn, there was leading 1-0 and Adam Armstrong had a couple of golden chances to double their lead. I think a couple of one-on-ones, one of them hit the post, he didn't take those chances. The home game against Swansea, they racked up an XG of over 3, which is massive. They only conceded like less, well, 0.2 according to Sporting Life. And when there's only so much you can do as a manager, you just got to set your team out to create chances. At some point, you just got to say, like, we've got to start taking these. And I'm just not sure when the performances for the large part of what I've seen of Southampton have been pretty good, barring the results. I just don't know if a managerial switch is the is the right thing to do at this moment in time. And so I guess that's my question. Would you have changed the managers? And second part is, would you be looking to go back to Russell Martin? Because as we spoke about him a lot before, and I get the sense that you're a fan of Russell's.
Yeah, so I definitely feel for Will still. Um, Perhaps not for the reasons that you're outlining, because you can you can draw like two sides of it from the data. So like that Blackburn game, I think they allowed 3.5 XG defensively
True.
against a team that Black Valerian Ismail was under as much, if not more, pressure than Will Still going into that match. Um, that it was being widely reported that he was going to be sacked if he didn't pull a result out. and he's managed to somehow, I know Southampton missed chances, but he's somehow got a win in that game, and then they've gone to Leicester and won, and now he's got breathing space. So don't give up that many opportunities against a team that's under so much pressure. Um, just don't do it. So yeah, I don't have as much sympathy in that respect, but there's a lot of parallels to be drawn between Southampton and Wolves, who've sacked their manager as well this weekend in the Premier League. And I think the ire of supporters is going to be more directed towards the ownership than it is the manager. It's not one of those managerial departures that's going to be celebrated. It's sad really for them. And when there's this many managers losing their jobs in a short period of time, it can't be the manager. It just can't be. So I think Wolves are on to this will be something like their sixth permanent managerial appointment in the space of 4 years, 5 years. And Southampton, you're looking at a similar number. Ralph Hasenhüttl left in 2022, and then since then they've gone through Nathan Jones has a very short-lived appointment, never really gave him a chance. And then Ruben Sellers had a short-term go at it. Russell Martin came in and did a good job in the championship, but then they got rid of him. And Ivan Juric came in, didn't ever really get a fair crack at the whip. They got rid of him. Simon Rusk has had 2 interim spells in charge, and now Will Still's gone after 13 league games. So it can't be that all those managers are not particularly good, especially when you look at the jobs that some of them have done elsewhere. So I think it's the owners that you've got to be looking at and thinking, what the heck are they going to do? The one criticism that I would um, level at Will Still is that I had a look back over the last good few years, and Russell Martin's an outlier in this with the style of football that he implemented at Southampton, getting them out of the Championship, ironically, a couple of years ago. I don't think there are many coaches that have been in the EFL who have won promotions with a very specific, like monastic style of football. I really struggle to find any. And the the philosophy argument that's filtered down from the Premier League, it definitely has been a thing in the Premier League, and managers have done that. This is my style, and it has definitely been the prevailing narrative for a good decade or more. Um, in the EFL, it's never worked. It's never been a
No,
thing. There's Russell Martin and then Brendan Rodgers when he got Swansea promoted through the playoffs.
Enzo
They
Maresca.
played, yeah, I mean potentially. I think that with teams where you've got by far and away the best squad, you can
Hmm.
kind of get away with it.
Absolutely.
But there's been very few. Um, so they probably need a bit more pragmatism to just give them a chance when they've been on such a long losing run. But if they get Russell Martin back, that ain't not something going to happen, is it? So
No, no, it sort of ties into that point, but not in terms of tactics. I thought Gab had a really interesting take. He said, sort of, question Will Still's charisma and the appointments he made in terms of coaching staff he brought in, and just lacking any real man motivation qualities. So I suppose it just makes the great man himself look even better. Neil Warnock, perhaps Will Still could have done with making all the players put 20 quid in the pot and taking them bowling. I don't know if that would have turned their fortunes, something like that. But we've got 2 games now in the Championship until the November international break, a notoriously brutal time for managers. We talked about it a lot just then. Will Still, he's gone, but he's looking elsewhere in the division. Norwich and Leicester on pretty terrible runs. Norwich lost 2-0 at home to Hull. We'll start there with Liam Manning. I'm just counting now their 6th straight defeat on the spin. They haven't won in 9, lost 7 of those. But they, the performance against Hull wasn't that bad, was it, Joe?
I know, yeah, Liam Manning, I do feel for. So when you were talking about Southampton and does the blame like the door of the players a bit more, then in his post-match interview, he said this thing were a couple of games now. It's like we basically just have to score when we're playing really well and we're on top, and it's hard to argue with him, especially against Hull because in the first half they missed so many chances hitting the woodwork. Josh Sargent probably should have scored twice, um, and then they don't score, and Hull score with the either first shot on target, go on to
Yeah,
win
first
2
shot on
nil.
target.
And it's a team that's got rock bottom confidence. As soon as they go behind, it's very hard to drag you way back into the game. Um, so he feels like he's right on the precipice of being sacked. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's lost every home game.
Yeah,
Which how on earth can you get any kind of support and momentum from the fan base when that's happening? Especially a fan base who they didn't want Johannes Hopthurup to be sacked, so or a large proportion of them didn't. So it's not ideal.
yeah. 7 home games, all competitions. Haven't won any. They've only scored 4 goals. Not scored in their last 3 games at Carrow Road. Hull, complete opposite of that. They're absolutely flying. I know it wasn't their first shot of the game they scored from because John Egan shot from kickoff. Have you seen it?
No, no.
Unbelievable. It's obviously something they've noticed with Norwich's keeper coming out high. So Egan's just took a punt from the kickoff. I loved it. But Hull play. They've got a trip to Wednesday. Unlucky because it's probably the second time where Wednesday this season are going to be looking for a game. So the timing of that game is not ideal. And then the last game before the international break, Norwich host Leicester. You mentioned Liam Manning might be right on the cusp of losing his job. I didn't realise just how bad Leicester's form's turned. They've lost 3 on the spin now. 2-0 defeat against Blackburn at the weekend. They've only had 1 win since the end of August, a run in September of nothing but draws. They beat Swansea away, but since then they've drawn to Portsmouth, lost at Hull, lost at Millwall, and now lost at Blackburn. You feel like the sort of amount of patience, amount of time for a recently relegated club, their manager is going to be less because of the resources available. But do you think Cifuentes is close to losing his job?
I think he's definitely under pressure. I was reading his post-match quotes this morning. I might as well get them up actually, rather than just try to remember exactly what he said. Uh, and he said, "Yeah, I understand that we can't keep waiting. I expect much more from them. When a club like Leicester's in the Championship, the expectation is that we're always at the top, and at the moment, we're not achieving those standards." So he's, yeah, well aware of the fact that he's under pressure, and yeah, the team are under pressure. So it's yeah, it's definitely getting to that stage. This is the last international break, and it feels like you're going to get a lot of these trigger fingers from
Yeah,
managers, and then the ones that are available, there won't be that many, especially at championship level. Um, I feel as though someone's going to take Michael Carrick soon. I can't see him staying out of work for particularly long. As much as it ended in not a great way at Middlesbrough, he didn't do a really bad job there. He just
no.
kind of ran out of momentum a bit, and I'm not sure he's the perfect fit for that club. Um, but I think that someone is going to try to get him in fairly soon, and that necessitates a managerial sacking. Um, it's still a really tight division though, so whether that means that clubs will be rewarded for their patience by sticking with managers, or it makes like club executives more impatient because they think, oh, how much longer can we leave it while the division's still particularly tight? Because if you go down the league, so Leicester, they're on 17 points in 14th. There's 2 matches this week. So if Leicester manage to pick up a couple of wins, then at the moment they're only a handful of points outside the playoffs. They could conceivably be in the playoffs or on the edge of it going into the international break. So it is very close as a division. And I mean, not that I would be willing this to happen, but the best thing for the league really was Wrexham ending Coventry's unbeaten run on Friday night, and even like Middlesbrough having this little blip that they've had because it's just pulled the chasing pack a little bit closer to them. But then you even look at the recent results of the teams up there, like Bristol City is still in the playoffs. They conceded 5 goals at Stoke. Um, Millwall, a team that you'd consider to be robust, conceding stoppage time equalisers. So I think it was this time last week that I was talking about the unpredictability of League One. I really think that we're getting to a stage with in the EFL where maybe this is a one-off season. I don't know, but it doesn't feel very sure um, in any of the divisions. There's a few teams in League Two maybe just creeping up there, and they might sneak away. But yeah, it's very hard to be sure about teams. Yeah, Coventry, I do like if they can get the defenders back. Because they did lose three of their back four to injury before Friday's game. Unsurprisingly, they concede 3 goals. But the rest of them, yeah, it's wide open still as a division.
It really is. It really is. I don't think that you just look at the slate of the results from the weekend. I mean, we put Charlton uh, in the Acca. They drew. I wanted Bristol City in the Acca. They lost 5-1, and that couldn't possibly be a bad tip from me. This is just football, not footballing how it should. We had Millwall in the Acca, as you said. They drew 2-2. Oxford conceded late. That's just so unlike them. West Brom was shorter than a lot of the heavily odds-on teams in the FA Cup to beat fellow Championship side Sheffield Wednesday. They created next to nothing in one of the most boring games of football I've ever seen. So, in terms of it constantly gets banded about how unpredictable the EFL is, but it's really living up to that reputation this season. And I don't think there's anybody out there who's hating it. It's just absolutely brilliant. Sheffield United, me and Jake was talking and he thought Sheffield United's price was good, shade of odds on. We were 3-0 down just past the hour mark against Derby, who have been really struggling this campaign. So, yeah, absolutely spot on, unpredictable. Perhaps somebody who's falling a little bit under the radar is Ipswich. I think they're taking 16 points from their last 8 games. They scored 4 at QPR, 2 great free kicks from Marcelino Nunes. George Hurst also got a brace, and out of nowhere, Ipswich starting to string together a bit of a good run. 2 wins on the spin now. Scored 5, only conceded 1.
Yeah, they feel probably quite similar to Stockport in League One. Bit of a wobbly start, and then they'll just start grinding out the results. And they've got obviously there's fewer games been played in the Championship compared to League One, so there are just a few rounds behind being able to progress up the table like Stockport have, and they've got a game in hand because of the match being abandoned away at Blackburn. So you potentially add on the points from that game in hand, and they're suddenly up there in the playoffs, I believe. So yeah, I don't think it comes as any surprise really to anybody if they are just grinding their way up the division. But yeah, it's just it is massively on display for. It's great, great for the league for us to be in November and to have everything up for grabs because I would look down at the bottom of the league and Sheffield Wednesday are, I mean, they are relegated already basically. Uh, But the two sides above them are the teams that finished third and sixth last season, and still have strong squads. And I, I don't think those teams are getting relegated. So, and there's still a gap, like to the
Mm-hmm.
next club. So, like relegation's still very much up for grabs. The playoffs has got teams in there that we're not expecting. So, um, it's going to be an exciting season, I think.
Yeah, one for the ages. No League One and League Two action the weekend just gone because it was FA Cup first round. Anything you want to mention from the first round action? I think we've got to really start from the 7 goal thriller on Friday night. Jack Wiltshire getting his second win in the Hatters hot seat in a row. but he didn't make it easy for himself, did he?
Oh gosh, no! Like when he went over for his interview at the end, then he looked absolutely exhausted. Welcome to full-time management. I I've made it to the final two of the last man standing. Of my family, there was in 10 of us maybe, and I nearly put Luton in. I had it on a short list of teams from the FA Cup this weekend, and when they raced into a 2-0 lead, was it? Did they even go 3-0 up?
3-0, yeah,
Um,
3-0.
yeah, then I was thinking, I can't believe I've done that. So I stopped looking at the score, looked back later, and it's 3-3. I was thinking, what on earth is going on here? Um, yeah, fair play to them for getting through. And you look at you can really really overanalyze. I think teams in the higher divisions' performances in the first round of the FA Cup.
Yeah,
Um, I think if you've got no prior knowledge, um, then yeah, you can't really read into it. If there's obviously some glaring errors there that you notice from a team you've been watching all season, then fine. But it is just completely a game in isolation because usually then the team from the low division really cares a lot more. They've got zero pressure. Um, they're probably playing the strongest 11 and their opponents aren't. In some cases now, because of money being particularly tight for people, there are away followings at home grounds that are genuinely bigger than the home attendance. So it completely flips things on its head. Um, it is really, really funny in that way. I'd only been thinking about this yesterday that I don't remember that ever being the case, really. You would usually get teams in League One, even if the fans weren't particularly bothered, you would still get like, a few thousand going. But at the moment, unless they paid their season ticket, people just don't have the spare cash. So you are getting, a thousand or 2,000 League One fans, and then 2.5, 3,000 non-league fans who would fancy the day out at a football league team. So the shocks that happen at the weekend, it's no massive surprise really that there were so many or so many that went very close.
yeah, yeah. You mentioned the fan thing there. I was at Oakwell for Barnsley's 3-2 win over York. York brought 3,000 fans, and I know the official attendance will be skewed by season ticket holders, but
I mean,
Barnsley
it
only
probably
had.
won't be. I don't think it will, because it's you don't get your ticket in the season ticket holders.
Oh, do you
So if there's
not?
no, so if there's 3,000 York fans, I mean they're probably not publishing the overall attendance.
No.
You'll have to try to dig it out from somewhere because I'm just looking now, can't find it anywhere. 'Cause it'd be embarrassing. I bet you know how they usually like, oh, the attendance is 10,000 or 3,000 away supporters. They wouldn't want to say, oh, the attendance is 4,100 with 3,000 away supporters. So I bet they
Yeah,
don't even announce it. They're just trying to hide it away somewhere in a little, in a little spreadsheet. But I bet
yeah,
that's what it was, something like that. It's
yeah.
crazy.
Well, the Ponty End and the West End was shut, so it was just a smattering in the East Stand, barely any. All the York fans making the noise, but I've got to say York was so impressive, and I know you got to take it with a pinch of salt because with no disrespect, it is a big day out for a National League club to try and get a scalp over what is a League One side, but like they was
Their cup
just
final, mate, innit?
take up final. I never said that, but Nick Maynard, he was so impressive. And I know it's not strictly EFL, but based on the performance I've seen, they're currently down in seventh in the National League, 7 points off the title. There was the favourites for the league, but based on the performance they're putting at Oakwell, I mean, Joe, they went for a back five. York. They outplayed Barnsley so much in the opening 25 minutes. Hourihane brought off Ogbeta, matched them up with a back five, and then Barnsley finally got some possession. But in the second half, York just went fine. You can have possession. We'll just do you on the counter attacking. They cut Barnsley open at will. If it wasn't for the clinical finish of Kilo Dunn, there, and I think Barnsley would have been staring down the barrel of an embarrassing exit. But there's a couple of players I want to shout out. Josh the Bull Stones. He is a player of Barnsley fans' profile would absolutely love him as a number 9. He's got a bit of the James Norwood about him, just tireless running, bit of a brute. Number 9, everything sticks to him, brings others into play. They also had Ollie Pierce, Ollie Banks as well. They were just so impressive. Elsewhere, you've referenced a couple of upsets. Brackley beat Notts County. I think that went to penalties. Reading, were they 2-0 up? 2
Reading
0
were
up?
2-0 up in the 93rd minute, conceded, is it 93 and 99, I think, and then lost in extra time.
Oh, my word. Yeah,
Yeah,
to Carlisle.
mad.
Regan Linney with a hat trick. Jesus. Two more I wanted to mention. Rotherham Swindon, League Two side beating League One side in extra time. Nothing like it's not a massive standout result considering Swindon towards the top end of League Two, Rotherham towards the wrong end of League One. But I saw a tweet. Paul Glatzel covered over 16k in this game, which is the highest distance I've ever seen covered. Over 1,500 meters in high intensity sprints. And Joe, you're a bit of a runner. How insane is that?
It's nuts. Yeah, I mean, you don't really see it published much, do you? Because I mean,
No,
the 12K, if they cover that in 90 minutes, that's considered like really, really high. So for him to get another third of the distance, um, with extra time included when everybody's exhausted, it's completely crazy, really. Yeah, but he
yeah,
had a nice bath afternoon.
absolutely nuts. The only other thing, do we mention it? Cheltenham beat Bradford. Bit of controversy about the goal. Dom producer, he's on out of sight, out of mind, but he's explained the situation, and apparently the ref blew for a foul.
No sour
Uh,
grapes here, is there?
well, yeah, this is from a Bradford fan, but apparently the referee's blown for a foul. Cheltenham have carried on. Isaac Hutchinson scored. The referee's just given the goal, despite blowing the whistle. And if there's one thing you taught as a kid, it's play to the whistle. And if he's blown his whistle, then surely the goal shouldn't have stand. But Cheltenham progressing against Bradford. Have you seen the goal, Joe?
Yeah, did he blow his whistle, or did he do that thing where they put the whistle to the mouth and then they didn't blow? I'm just, what do you think?
I don't know. I
Mm.
don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen
You
it.
have to
They
go,
just
you have to go and watch for yourself.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna watch after.
Mhm.
Right, I think that's all we've got time for today. We have got midweek action this week, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then it's a full slate on Saturday. We'll be back on Thursday to try and get you a winning Acca, having a brutal time this season. And then it's international break. And then after that, I think there's a run of about 11 fixtures up until the third round. Busy time of the EFL season on the horizon. Lots and lots is going to happen. I'm looking forward to it, but as I say, we'll be back on Thursday to try somehow and find a winning Acca from what has been the most unpredictable of EFL seasons. Joe, thank you for your time.
All right, cheers, mate.
Cheers. As I say, we'll be back Thursday. Go well.